Just a year or so ago, a fellow called me up one night and said, "Leo, I want to come over and see you." And I said, "God, who is it?" Well, he said, "You'll never guess, but I'm going to stop in down here." And I said, "Okay, and what's your name?" He said, "Francis Merkin." And out he comes. Hell, I hadn't seen him since we went to school together in about the 20s. And he drove out here from Albuquerque. He was making a kind of a grand circle tour around here. Drove out here from Albuquerque with his wife. We had a nice visit, and they went back the next day.
Well, you went up to St. Benedict's in Atchison, Kansas, to finish high school. You said after your school burned down, or part of it burned down?
Yeah, I think it was 1918, and I finished up there in 1921. Then I went from there up to Creighton.
So you went to college at Creighton before you went to medical school at Creighton. Yeah. How big a class were you in?
Well, graduates, we were kind of a small class, 55.
And you graduated from Britton 29, didn't you?
Yeah. I wanted to do about 3 years altogether, because when I first started out, I was in Bachelor of Science, but I switched over, took the medical sciences with that. That's how I arranged the transition into medicine, see. Mm-hmm. So I graduated in 29.
You went to Chicago, didn't you, after you got out of medical school?
No, I was my internship in St. Louis.
Oh, I see. You went to St. Louis first, then.
I spent a year there, and then I went up to Chicago for 2 or 3 months and gave that up.
What did you do in Chicago? Were you just...
looking around. Yeah. And I had some friends that had an apartment there, and they were doing the same thing. I mean, they weren't doctors, but I mean, they were looking for jobs. The doctor couldn't get a job anywhere. I went down to them to unemployment officer. That's just for professional help, you know. That's for doctors and technicians and so forth. I'll never forget, I went in there and told them what I wanted, and that I wanted a job, and I was a graduate and this and that and the other thing, gave them my qualifications and everything else. And when I got all through with this whole list and stuff and everything, she kind of looked up from the desk at me and says, "Well, what did you want to do?" Damn. I said, "Well, hell, I wanted to practice medicine." Well, she said, "And I'd want to, but I don't know what's going to happen." I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "Well, we've got 80-some doctors driving cabs here part-time in Chicago."
Were you trying to get into a clinic or a group of doctors there?
I was trying to get into anything.
And see, that Dr. Rice was looking for doctors then.
Now, Dr. Rice was in Britton, and he was looking for someone to...
Literature from medical placement bureaus, and that's how he got Dad's name.
So he had your name, or you wrote to him first, or how did...
Well, got through the employment agency.
Oh, I see.
And then he had, Dad met him in Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm. So you met him in Minneapolis and then came out there. What did you think of Britton when you first saw it?
Well, anything looked good. I can tell you that. There wasn't a damn living thing anywhere. You know, there were bread lines in Chicago.
Yeah.
$125 a month.
Yeah.
And his board at the hospital, and
I had a little kitchenette, you know.
then we got married in 35, and he was getting $250 a month.
When did they make the change from having you go to visit the patient to having the patient come in and stay in the hospital? You mentioned you used to go on so many of those long calls and travel all over the county and all kinds of weather and that sort of thing.
In the first place, the patient didn't have any money and they couldn't afford to stay in the hospital. And you had to be within an inch of death before you were eligible. People would come in the office, when they'd leave, they'd say, "Doc, I don't have any money. Would you like to have a pig? Or would you like to have a calf?" Well, my God, you know, now a pig is worth $100.
Yeah.
Those days it were nothing.
And they were nothing then, they'd give you one. And then there was that transition where it finally ended up that practically very few people stayed at home. They practically all came in, you know.
You practiced there, 38 years, was it? That was when there were three of you there, Dr. Curry and Dr. Drisson and yourself. What did you do mainly? The general internal medicine? Yeah. And Dr. Drisson did most of the surgery and Curry did the obstetrics. Yeah.
Obstetrics.
Did you deliver quite a few babies then? Outside the hospital. Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. I was going to count them up one time. I suppose around 5,000.
Did you ever regret going to Britton instead of somewhere else after you were there?
Oh, you know, circumstances always flavored something. You know, I could have gone to my hometown and probably done as good and probably maybe even a hell of a lot better than I did up there. If I were to have done any differently, I would have, after I'd been there 4 or 5 years and gotten out of the hole a little bit, I think I'd have gone to California.
Why would you go there, do you think?
Well, because the opportunity would be a hell of a lot better. And had better opportunities for postgraduate work and everything else, you know.
Were you ever interested in doing postgraduate work in medicine?
I just couldn't afford it.
Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you. if you're young at heart. For it's hard you will find to be narrow of mind if you're young at heart. You can go to extremes with impossible schemes. You can laugh when your dreams fall apart at the seams, and life becomes exciting with each passing day. And love is either in your heart or on its way. Don't you know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart? For as rich as you are, it's much better by far to be young at heart. And if you should survive to 105, look at all you'll derive just by being alive. Now here is the best part, you have a head start if you are amongst the very young at heart. And if you should survive to 105, look at all you'll derive just by being alive. Now here is the best part, you have a head start if you are amongst the very young at heart.